more questions, I think. Gentleman in the stripy tie.
Thanks very much, and I'd like to thank the LPI for such a successful evening. Though I agree with most have said that we shouldn't rush the constitution through, and we should take our time and think it through very carefully, which is, I think, is what we should do. My concern is, having been to Libya several times or during the period of conflict, is the safety issue. And the concern is the revolution and the uprisings come on the back of 42 years of very much a one person governing the whole country. Is now there's a huge vacuum of power where if we allow things to drag on for too long, we may find new power heads arising out of the ashes of the uprising. The question to the panel is there any other way whereby an interim judiciary system can be implemented during the time that the whole country thinks and debate how this constitution is going to develop, I should say. Thank you.
Mr. Mayat.
Yeah, about the question of the corruption, yes, I agree with you that the corruption is, I consider it as the cancer that eating the body of the society. The corruption during the era of Gaddafi had spread enormously because there was no laws that fighting corruption or punishing the corrupt people. Now, we have the declaration here. There is no mention, no trace talking about corruption, which is, I believe, that is one of the important liberties and important factor for the success of our people. Corruption is very bad, and it is all spread over the country for over 42 years. Therefore, I believe that we need to put a provision in the Constitution that dealing with corruption, for example, anti-corruption laws, anti-corruption commissions. We need to have really to tackle that problem of the corruption in our country. Thank you.
Do you have any thoughts on the point about the interim judiciary?
Yes, I have mentioned my talks that there is no the time that has been fixed to prepare the constitution, which is 60 days. This is a fast food preparation. I think the fast food needs more than 60 days to prepare it. Now, this is true. So we need first the provision here about the legislation committee, what they call it, the legislation Article 30 here, the constitutional authority. This one has been in this Article 30 first. There are some deficits. First, they did not mention the number of this authority. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 15. We don't know exactly. It should be mentioned here. How many? Because they have mentioned the number of the National General Congress of 200 people, 200 members. Then we have to have the numbers of the constitutional authority. This is number one. Number two, what the constitutional authority should include some experts in the constitution, experts in the legal affairs, in business, in economic professors, for example. This should be a mix of many experts that they are able and they can do or offer us a good constitution. So these two things are missing in this article here, which really we need to be adjusted for that one in the future.
I think you also, you raise a valid point about the provisions for executive and legislative structures on an interim basis, which are not mapped by any provisions for interjudicial structures. So of course, I think there will be questions around work with the courts, judicial training, in order to ensure that there are sufficient checks and balances during the interim process. I don't know, Alham, if you have anything to add.
I suppose I could plug our organization, one of the projects we're working on. But I think I wanted to just add one point about this delaying process. And I know you can tell that this is something I'm very passionate about, or what level of delay. I was speaking to someone a few days ago who does training on human rights with children in schools. And she was telling me about how she got a group of 30 kids who are 11 years old and asked them to put together on a piece of paper what they thought were the absolutely fundamental rights of a person. Them as children, is it to play, is it to eat, is it to what? And they actually came up with over 70% of the rights in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So that when we talk about fundamental rights, we mean fundamental rights. And so I think that's what we need to keep in mind. These aren't alien concepts. And so I wanted to make that point. Now I know it's not directly linked to what you asked, but I think when you think about these things and we're saying, no, they're not, they're not, it's not urgent, it's not needed, these are precisely the same rights. If an 11-year-old child with no war going on can come up with 70% of those rights, then the people who died in Libya definitely had those rights in mind, and it's on us to make sure they're there for the next generation, like the wonderful kid who asked the question.